Hi, this is Prior Quigley and my mom, Ellen Quigley. It's September 9th, 2022. My mom's 89 years old. She has a story to tell about Bigfoot she experienced. What year was this?
I don't know what year it was now. I'm getting so pretty old, but uh, I was around 43,
Mm-hmm. So,
and I was down in the deep valley hunting with my husband and two boys,
mm-hmm.
and I got super tired of looking all morning for elk, and I'd been up late the night before, so I went. Told him I was going to go up and take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to walk up 3 miles, a curvy path, and along the way I noticed a kind of a musky smell. So I thought it was a bear.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw where I knew he was circling me because every so often there was urination or a sign of something following me. But I didn't let it bother me because it wasn't bothering me.
Hmm.
And so I got up to the camper. I did something stupid. I put my gun in the front and shut the door. And then I got in the back where we had a little makeshift bed to take a nap if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And there, yeah. And so I fell asleep. And then all of a sudden I heard, huh, huh, huh. And I sit straight up. and and actually I knew there was something right outside the camper, and there was the camper door would there was no door on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walked forward and looked at an animal I'd never seen before. He had hair on his body that grew in a downward fashion. It was kind of a dusty gray brown,
Hmm.
kind of a dirty kind of looking hair, but I imagine not dirty. But anyway, his arms hung lower than his, normal. They went down to his knees. They were
Mm-hmm.
long arms,
Hmm.
and I I just stared at him in the face and was very quiet because I didn't want to make upset him.
Hmm.
And I just looked at him in the eyes. He had regular eyes. He had no snout. He had a face more or less, kind of, a little bit like an ape. A flat face and black.
Right.
And and he had a narrow body at the bottom. His hips were narrow, and he was extremely tall, anywhere from 7.5 to 8 foot tall. And he had broad shoulders and those long arms and legs. And in my mind, I was thinking that if it was dark and my kids were down below, that they might think he was just a tree in the darkness because it was getting dark.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, really?
yeah,
Wow.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so I said, uh, I put my head out there and I noticed he didn't make any moves toward me. He was studying me just as much as I was studying him.
Hmm.
And I said to him, because I noticed he was sniffing like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I said, "Oh, are you?" And then I noticed that Luther had left a Limburger sandwich in the
Oh.
sun there, and he was probably smelling that sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Oh, are you hungry?" And he just stood there. So I went over quietly, didn't make any quick moves, picked up the sandwich, and I underhanded it like a softball, and it fell at his feet. And he looked at me, and then he reached down with his hand, which is a hand. It's not claws, but it's a hand, just like yours and mine. He picked up the sandwich, and I noticed his big feet. He had feet just like ours too.
Huh.
And he picked the sandwich up and looked at me, turned around, and walked down the road. And I watched him till he was out of sight because I was afraid to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And he went down the road instead of going back down the pathway, the down to the bottom. He went. I saw him going up the road, and he never ate the sandwich. He held the sandwich the whole way.
What?
Yeah, like he was going to give it to somebody else or something else.
He didn't eat it.
He didn't eat it right away. No, he didn't just eat it.
Huh.
So to me, it sounds like it could be a female or a male. I don't know.
Wow.
He was
So
going to give
he
that sandwich.
accepted your gift, huh?
So anyway, soon as it was out of sight, I got in the front and where my gun was. But I knew that if he or she really got angry, he'd tear the heck out of that pickup.
Truck, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be any good to try to shoot him because.
But were you afraid of him at any
I
time?
just had I just had a 22 20 Savage. I can't remember the make.
308 Savage.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and that's all I had to shoot him with. So.
But were you ever afraid?
Huh?
Were you afraid?
No.
All during the time?
All of a sudden, I just had some calmness come over me.
Uh-huh.
Because I just knew it meant a difference, maybe between life or death. He might accept it and he might not.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
like I say, he was studying me the same as I would. And I talked like this to him. Are you hungry?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll get you something to eat.
Hmm.
I talked very soft, just like that to him. The whole thing, the whole time.
So this was in Idaho. Where was it in Idaho?
In Avery, around Avery.
Up in Avery. This is in the late 70s, isn't it?
At the top of a long pass there.
In the late 70s, probably, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wish I could remember the name of the pass.
Yeah.
I'm getting old
wow.
now.
Well, that's a great
But
story.
Anyway,
that's.
I believe
yeah,
Bigfoot is just another animal, but he's not a bear.
So I've heard your story probably
And
four
he
or five
big
times,
teeth and horrible
no,
fangs
yeah,
and things like that.
yeah.
Just,
And your story never wavers. It's always you were comfortable
yeah.
and it was an amazing experience. But he was happy to receive your gift. Did you ever run into him again, or?
No, because I never went up there again because I didn't want to meet him in the woods.
Yeah.
And it could be a different one, you know what I mean? One that was not quite as civil.
Wow.
And then the next day, a hunter from down below came up above, terrified. Because he said the biggest bear, which he didn't have a chance to look at it too much, picked up his elk and swung it around his campground and tore down his tent and just ravaged his place where he was staying, and he took off and went back later, and he had killed the elk and left part of it there for him and took part of it with him. And yeah, but he was so scared he came down to ask other hunters if they would go down with him because he was afraid, because he said, I can't shoot him because he's too big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, here it is, 2022. Amazing, Mom. Thanks.